Hi, this is Steph Nevlith, and this is going to be an analysis of the Gateway Hospital Dilemma from the GVV Case in Chapter 2 of Ethical Obligations in Decision Making and Accounting. So let's get started. So the case is Kristen, who's a new employee at Gateway Hospital, goes on a conference trip with her immediate supervisor, Troy. While there, the hospital has a pretty intense expense reimbursement program requiring receipts and so on. Troy brings his family along on the trip because he feels like they haven't had enough family time and he wants to do something for them, and so they come along on the trip as well. But they end up spending too much, and so his wife suggests that he expense some of it back to the firm for the last day, and so he does. Later on, Kristen is approached by Joyce, who's the accounting department head, and he inquires why Troy has expenses one extra day and she didn't because they were on the same trip. She defers her answer and goes to approach Troy about the issue. So we're going to take an analysis of how that conversation go and what she can do and what's the right decision. So what can Troy argue? What is his arguments? Mostly materiality, that it was only one day, it wasn't that much. Also that, everybody else does it. It's a standard practice. Everyone else expenses personal stuff most of the time anyways. It's an isolated incident. It could be, he's given up so much family time. The firm can expense it this one time. Who else is going to know? This kind of like loyalty, locus of loyalty. Like if it's just Troy and Kristen who know, then it kind of shows. So she'll have to realize what's at stake here, and with all the parties as well, not just Kristen and Troy, but also the Gateway Hospital itself, the business. For Kristen, it's her professional integrity, her career, and even her relationship with Troy. Her integrity, depending on her decision. If she lies for Troy, it could reflect poorly on her. And obviously, lying to your business isn't always the best practice. And by doing so, she's really affecting her career. It could help her move forward with Troy, or it could set her back and even maybe possibly get her fired. And like I said, her relationship with Troy, if she's in his good graces, then it could help her professionally, build a better relationship. But it could also, if they're good friends already, and so it'll affect that as well. For Troy, obviously his career, if the policy is strict, he might get fired. It might affect his performance evaluations, that sort of thing. His trustworthiness is the biggest one, I think, is if it comes out that he had lied about his personal expenses on this, then they might start to question what other things he's lied about. Can he be trusted, and that sort of thing. Financially, if he's in a financial situation at home, these expenses might be important to him. Losing his job obviously would be important as well, as far as financially. And then, of course, again, his relationship with Kristen, moving forward, it could really affect their relationship severely or greatly improve it as depending on the situation, what path is chosen. And then as for the business itself, the hospital obviously financially, if this is a recurring thing and multiple employees are doing this, it adds up to a big expense that the firm should not be paying for based on their policy. They could lose valuable employees if Troy is fired. It sounds like he puts in a lot of hours and work. And then also its credibility and reliability. If the rules are not enforced, then nobody else is going to keep following them or disobeying them. And then, so how can Kristen leverage Troy in this discussion? Obviously, she was the only companion on the trip, so her ward could swing the vote either way. And also, she'd already deferred her reply to Joyce, so that's going to also work in her favor. She can her decision is what makes the final decision. And then Kristen is also still new. It hasn't quite established a good or bad personality yet, so this could establish that now. And then Troy's obviously her immediate supervisor, and this could be a way to get into his good graces. So the best decision, there's multiple approaches she could take, but I think personally, I believe that, I feel like that should be a thing between HR and Troy, and I would try to avoid being a part of it. I would tell them my side of the story. I'd tell them, these are the expenses I had. I can't say for Troy. And then I would tell Troy, hey, I think you might have done this. It's wrong. It's against policy. They're looking into it, and maybe maybe this is a lesson not to do it again. And then if it becomes a recurring thing, then obviously I feel like you would be required to report that to somebody that hey, he's abusing the policy. He's costing lots and lots of money. So this is another one of those right versus right decisions. Depending on what side you would take with Troy, and whether he was justified. This is an everyday example of why giving voice to your values would be important in your daily life. So thank you for listening to my presentation.